old Nintendo gamer.
And son.
And our big topic comes from a person who is one of the... I was going to say a customer then. Yes, let's call him a customer of the N-Europe forums. We're all customers. He's talking about multiplayer games, so it's taken from his created thread there, and this is how he opened his post. He said, "For many years I've harboured this idea that online multiplayer is nowhere near as good as local multiplayer, simply due to how I have found myself enjoying times when I played against my friends in the past, and how when playing online there isn't really that same sort of drive anymore. The short answer is, I believe, casual gaming is incompatible with an online environment. Basically, if you're playing online, regardless of whether you want to or not, you're playing competitive." And he gives some examples of Metroid Prime Hunters, where people were ghosting into a wall and sniping people, or FIFA 18, where everybody he played against were playing as PSG, and Cavani was doing some long-range spamming for goals. What's your take on that, Greg? Which one's better, first of all, for multiplayer, online or local?
I imagine there'd been like a few years ago when I was a bit younger, I would have said local is the way to go, but for me now it's like entirely dependent on the game. Locally, don't really have anybody to really play with anymore. Everybody's obviously grown up and doing their own things, and any time we maybe would get a chance for like an opportunity to play something locally, like the skill levels are like, there's too much disparity between the skill levels now, because like I'm the only one that really like plays games as much anymore. Like everybody else kind of stopped playing games just for whatever reason. So like if we do get a chance to play together, it's like, well, like I'll probably usually win, or it's not fun to play in that way. So like at least if you're going online, you're getting like a competitive game against like-minded people, I guess. Can completely sympathise with the long range shooting in FIFA there, because that's something that even in the current games on Switch there in FIFA is just like, once you get into a position and shoot, it's so frustrating just seeing those goals flying against you, because it's like it doesn't take an awful lot of skill to pull it off. Like it's hard to take, kind of. Yeah, like I say, entirely game dependent.
Nick, how about you?
I don't know, I guess my feelings are pretty similar to Greg's. I haven't really played any local multiplayer since the Wii. And that's like early Wii, like a year and a half or so after it came out, when I would have people over and we'd play Wii Sports or Wii Play. And that, I think that was probably the last time I really had, I suppose maybe Pro Evolution Soccer, when I was doing my master's degree and we lived in the dormitory, and there was about 10 guys who used to have Pro Evo tournaments 3 or 4 times a week. They were extremely fun. And that was, I think that was PES 2013 maybe, and that was on the PC. But I definitely prefer local multiplayer rather than online. I mean, I know I've spent a lot of time on Rocket League, and I've spent a lot of time also playing Halo multiplayer online since that came out, the Master Chief Collection. But I generally don't really enjoy it so much, and the reason, especially like with Rocket League and Halo, why I don't enjoy it that much is because I'm just not good enough. It's just too difficult. So, it's just not fun when you're losing all the time, is it? Playing stuff like Smash Brothers with guys from the forum is really fun. And sometimes we'll do voice chat as well on Discord or on the app, on the Nintendo Online app. And it's definitely better when you play online, when you do it like that, with people, not maybe people who but there is some kind of relationship there with them. You know who they are, you know how good they are at the game. So yeah, like I would say in the last sort of 4 years since the Switch came out, I think probably Smash Brothers nights have been the most fun I've had online. Couple of games of ARMS as well back in the day, We did some arms lobbies. I'm trying to think. Even like Rocket League with friends is much more fun than playing competitive. We've had a few Rocket League nights as well. When we were recording the other podcasts, we used to play Smash. That was a lot of fun. Or we would dip into some other games like Capcom Beat 'em Up Collection. That was a lot of fun as well. So, I mean, online with friends is definitely the closest thing there is to a local multiplayer, but it's still not quite the same. And competitive online with randoms is just, depending on the game, I think you have to be really good to enjoy it, to be honest, because for me, Halo is just a frustrating experience because I don't have the time and the dedication that other people do to get as good as that. And you know, when my team wins the match and I've got one kill, it's kind of like, you know, because in Halo it's first to 50 wins.
It's like my Splatoon
matches. Splatoon, to be honest, I'm not too bad at Splatoon. Like, I can definitely influence whether we win or lose. Maybe not as much as other people, but I do feel like that game, depending on my performance, if it's good, then there's more chance we'll win. So I feel like I'm contributing in Splatoon, but in Halo, I never feel like I'm doing anything. I'm just basically a fodder for the other team. So single player games have been getting a lot more time from me, and even stuff like PGA and PES 2021. I don't touch online because I find it enjoyable playing by myself against the computer.
Yeah, local multiplayer was always my favourite, but after university, it drifted off completely. And Nintendo's online experience then didn't even start even get going, did it? Until the Wii U, for me anyway. So it wasn't, even when I was playing the Wii and playing for online games like Mario Kart Wii, it just didn't feel right. So I never played many online games. And in more recent years, when my son is becoming of an age now that he's become very competent at games as well, that kind of local multiplayer with a good friend, that feeling has come back. Yes, there's only two of us, and yes, we only basically play maybe once a night in the week, maybe on a Tuesday, and then a couple of times on the weekend. Like earlier today, we played Borderlands 2, and we spent a good hour and a half in Borderlands 2 messing around and progressing the story there. It's co-op games I prefer, rather than that online competitive stuff. If there's a good online co-op game like Monster Hunter, Borderlands 2, we've had it now and again. If yes, we'll put like 2 players local co-op on Borderlands 2, but sometimes we'll switch on the online and people will join you, you know, and there's up to 4 players in Borderlands as well there, and we can go through the game with some, you know. Sometimes the problem again is leveling. Say I'm level 25 and then someone comes in at level 65. It's kind of breaking the game, so it's this balance of, do I want to break the game or not? And we end up doing things locally rather. But another example of that kind of not competitive game, co-op game is Hypercharged Unboxed. It's this drop in, drop out. Anybody can come into your lobby anytime you want. They can even drop into the game when it's started. So you're playing through this and someone else drops in and jumps in. There's no disparity in the level of, it's just how good you are. It's your skill level. There's no leveling up of the character. So if you have a good player with you, it helps you out. If you don't, well, they're just an extra body to get in the way, you know? So at least there's someone else there. I much prefer co-op games than competitive games online. I'm trying to think of a good competitive game. I've played Rocket League's not bad, but once, like Nick said, I'm just not good enough. And that's pretty much mostly the case of anything I play competitive online. It's like, I'm just Smash Brothers. I just get hammered all the time, you know. When it's with friends, it's much better. Unfortunately, being in Taiwan as well, it's very difficult to get the times lined up, as you know from this podcast itself, just to get a match. And Pure Pool is another example recently. It's easier to play through in Korea. If someone's around like Dazzy B, just to drop a quick match in, it's very rare that I'm either awake or wanting to play a game at the time that we can, unfortunately. So a couple of thoughts from the forums as well. Hero Time says he does get a lot out of online multiplayer from the social aspect. I don't. So basically he says, as we get on in years and it gets harder and harder to actually meet up for friends because of our life commitments and the local kind of things, he says, he feels that online multiplayer is the best way to replicate, like Nick said as well, getting people together. And he says he has fond memories of online co-op games, which are, like I said, my favourite games like Halo 3, ODST, Reach, Army of Two, Resident Evil 5 and Phantasy Star Online. So he's going for the kind of co-op game as well, where online multiplayer is helping each other. Do you find the opportunity to do much of that, Greg?
Not really with like friends as such. Maybe it's because I have probably a limited number of friends, and the ones that are like the ones that I do have aren't interested in games as such, and certainly wouldn't have a Switch or a PS5 or anything like that. So it's definitely rare to get an opportunity. And like occasionally, obviously, like there's groups of us in Discord and stuff, and like we will arrange games sometimes, but it's very tricky to get a group together all at one time that wants to play a specific game. Like the easiest one to jump into is like you say, Rocket League. There is an easy one to play, but like every time I play it now, it's just like I play a couple of games and I'm kind of bored of it. Like and like you say, like your competitors are, for the most part, almost too good. Like when you reach a certain level, and like games, obviously, like they do try to sort of like fix you with people of similar skill levels, which does help sometimes. But when you're playing a game, it's like I'm never going to be able to reach that level, no matter how much I play. It's definitely kind of off-putting.
I was going to ask another question. I've forgotten what the question was. Nick, any thoughts on that?
I haven't really played any co-op games, and I would like to.
No.
I do think the games that HOT's listed there, Monster Hunter, Halo 3, ODST, and Reach, Phantasy Star, they're all perfect for online co-op. I think I wouldn't like to do that with a random. I remember HOT actually saying that he played through Streets of Rage 4 with somebody online. Like, they beat it together. He didn't know who the person was, but they just joined the game and they beat the game together. For me, that's not so interesting. I think I'd prefer to play a co-op game with somebody that I knew and have voice chat on and, do it together rather than just a random person. I think I would prefer to do it alone instead of like that. But
yeah. Funnily enough, I think I was actually going to say Streets of Rage 4. Like, it's something I would actually like to play with you, but you have it on Steam, is that right?
No, I've got it on Switch.
Oh, you've got it on Switch?
Mm-hmm. So we could.
Have we already played before?
I think we wanted to. We tried to arrange something and it just never happened. So we should do that. We should go for it from start to finish.
That's definitely going to happen because I've played it again recently, and as I'm sure it will be touched on next week. Like it's absolutely my game of the year. No question.
And what I was going to say, like, I love the enthusiasm in the Discord sometimes. It's like a new game comes out like Pure Pool and everyone's, oh, yes, let's go. Everybody's got it. Yeah, we're going to get these matches together.
And it just never happens,
that
does it?
Kind of, yeah, it doesn't happen because life, unfortunately, gets in the way. So, yeah, that is always frustrates me a bit, is that I wish I was playing more online with the boys. And I hope after I buy Streets of Rage 4, I can play online with you too as well, boys. It's just nice, like Nick said, to have Discord in the background and you're chatting not about the game, just general banter in the background,
Yeah.
That's quite nice as well. SCG brings up the classic example of PSO, Phantasy Star Online. We know he loves that game. And he says basically it's a fantastic shared experience. So he's talking about co-op there again. Vile Plume talks about missing an important point, is that you say local is with friends and online is with randoms. And this is a point that Velplin carries on about. Basically, you want to be more selective with who you play online with. But like we've said, it can be difficult to arrange. Do you have any other mentions of anybody from the forums or anything? Like Dracon says, local multiplayer is much better than online multiplayer. I can sit there butt naked and be unnecessarily sexual with my friends and or strangers. It's just not the same doing thing in this online.
I was going to say, I do think it's better when you play online because there's no pressure to be, to be ready. Like you can sit in your boxes if you want and not have to worry about it if it's just voice chat. Like there's been like a couple of the games that when we were doing the podcast, the other podcast, with Smash Brothers and with the other games, Animal Crossing and stuff. For me, that started at 11 o'clock at night. So I was already like, I'd already had like a couple of beers or something, and I was already like almost ready for bed. I was like, okay, podcast time. And it was just fun. It was just sit down for an hour and chat with Ryan and Jonas and Dennis and Sam. It was good. And yeah, most of the time we didn't talk about the game we were playing. It was just, we'll talk about whatever comes into our heads. So stuff like that was a lot of fun. And yeah, whether that, I mean, that is only really possible online, because I know like Jonas is in Portugal, Ryan's in Holland, Dennis is in Holland, Sam's in England, and I'm here. So, that's 4 different countries. And it was just nice, every 11 p.m. to get together and chat about the week's news and stuff like that. Kind of like we do.
Does the wait for online games bother you anyway? When you're playing local and your mate's sitting next to you and you're like, oh, let's put it on, bum, 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 put it on, and you're in a match. Local, there's online, there's a lot of lobbies waiting for 10 minutes. Someone drops off, someone comes back. It's that kind of waiting that bothers me, and I maybe I'm a bit too impatient, but by the time I've waited 10 minutes for a match, I'm thinking I could be playing something else.
A wee bit maybe, but actually, like, I've kind of found with my brother a wee bit, like,
yeah,
there's some games we go to play a multiplayer, like on the PlayStation or whatever, and like somehow local multiplayer is overcomplicated compared to what it was like. If you're playing like N64 or whatever, you just plug the controller in and away you go. Like and like he's got the latest Call of Duty there on PS5, and like we're trying to set up like a local multiplayer game of that there, and I was like, right, how can I add myself to the game here? And then it's like, I figured that out, and then it's like, right, trying to get like level and all set up and whatever else, and it's like it seemed needlessly complex for what you're trying to do. Compared to what it used to be, and that's really frustrating. So, like, I think we generally only play Pro Evo together anyway, and that is straightforward to set up. But even then, like I say, there's like he has to use like a souped up team generally to play against me, because like when we play like similar level teams, like I tend to like beat him relatively comfortably most of the time, and I mean it's not really fun for him and it's not really fun for me either. Like, although my satisfaction would be like if I was playing somebody that was better than me and like trying to like grind it down and like figuring it out until I am like good enough to beat them, like that's part of the satisfaction there. And you don't always get that with online play as such, because like if you're playing like through the divisions or whatever online and you're just playing against some random person, like you sort of jump into a game, you have no knowledge of what that person plays like or anything, so it could take you a while throughout the game before you sort of like settle on a strategy that would maybe be able to like counter their gameplay style. But because you're only having one quick one-off game with them, you don't really get an opportunity to like properly test that out. And then there are other times when I will play somebody and I think, oh, that was a really good game. Like, I would like to like say like, oh, well played, and there's no opportunity to play that sometimes. On Rocket League, obviously, you do get a chance to sort of say like, oh, good game at the end, but you never really feel it's sincere most of the time.
True.
Yeah, like I definitely like look back on my childhood and like sort of growing up, like really feeling like just like tears tripping us just from the hilarity of some local multiplayer games, like stuff like Worms, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like just when somebody does something stupid, it's just like all sitting around just laughing together and stuff. You don't really get that with online. And like even I suppose more recently, maybe about 10 years ago, so I'm playing stuff like Wii Sports and like track and field locally, just like had just some of the best times of my life, just sitting having an absolute hoot with like-minded people, and it's just like those opportunities aren't there anymore, sadly, but it is what it is.
Yeah, for good or bad online gaming, hopefully, I suppose the last thing to touch upon is the kind of what I think it was D-Cubed said, the technical side of it. That's what kind of lets me down, because when I do find a good match, and even with playing Dazzy B, and one that strikes my mind is Capcom Beat 'em Up Collection.
Mm-hmm.
I play by myself, perfect game. Dazzy B joins me, drops to about half the speed. A third person jumps in, and it's a stutter show. You know, it's just the frame rate hits 4 frames, and we all know the problems of Super Mario Maker 2.
Yeah.
I've never seen I couldn't play a match because the frame rate on it was just incredibly bad because of the lag. That's the last kind of point. Nick, do you have any problems in Latvia with playing games online? F1 springs to mind. How does that run online?
No, I'm lucky because I have a very fast internet connection. So anytime I've got Switch and I've got my PC wired, and I've never had any real problems here with anything. Mario Maker 2 never worked well. Sometimes I would get a good game, but usually it would be bad. And very, very, very occasionally I'll get some lag on Smash Brothers, but I'm pretty certain that's not from my side. So for me, everything's smooth. Everything I've played online on PC, mostly Rocket League, PES and F1, absolutely seamless, flawless experience. Never had any problems. So, yeah.
When I'm playing people in Taiwan, no problems either. You know, it's just as soon as you get out to Europe, the connection from Taiwan to Europe, obviously it's the distance involved, but it's a circuitous route as well. It doesn't go direct, obviously. It's going through either China or Middle East, across the ocean there and back across. Apparently they're going to have a new fiber optic line between Taiwan and America, which should sort things out for some American servers for me.
I think this is the sort of thing that's only going to improve, though. Like, it's not going to get worse, and it's just a matter of time before it gets better. So hopefully for you, I mean, if you're playing with someone in Japan, I'm sure it's going to be
wonderful.
fine. But yeah,
Splatoon plays perfectly.
It will slowly improve over the next few years for sure, and you'll be able to play a game with Europeans without so much lag, at least, hopefully.
And then I can show you my skills, boys.
Greg, the games themselves can help out in certain ways. Like when I was playing, it would have been FIFA 19 on the Switch. I remember I was going through Division 1, and I think you needed 23 points out of 10 games or something to win, and it seems like a hard ask playing against the best players in FIFA to get that amount. And I had won my first 7 games, so I was sitting on 21 points with 3 games to play, and I don't know if it was the pressure or just the quality of what was listening, but I lost the next 2 games, so I needed to win the final game. And as soon as I started that last game, the lag was absolutely abysmal. And I was like, if I had an option not to play against this person, because if I knew the connection was bad, I wouldn't play them. That's something that happens in Pro Evo. When I try to play a game online there, it searches for a person as usual, and then it comes up showing you what the connection is like between you and that player, and then you can either accept the match or decline it. So, if games have those sorts of options, then it definitely helps, but not every game has that, unfortunately. So if you jump into a game and even one person has a bad connection, it kind of ruins it for everybody else, sadly.
Yeah.
Mario Tennis Aces had it.
It did, yeah, that's true.
Amazingly. Yeah. Nintendo on the ball there. Anything else to add, boys?
I don't know. I think as long as we get more options, especially from Nintendo, Microsoft and Sony seem to have got it, the online experience nailed pretty well. I think as long as Nintendo just, I want to say keep trying, but they're not really trying, to improve the service and get it closer to what Microsoft and Sony have, then the need for, online will become closer to local with time. And yes, we have other options like Discord, and we can make it better than Nintendo offers us. So, I mean, there is a difference, but I don't think it's that much of a big difference. And when you're playing online with friends, it is almost as good as playing locally, but it's not quite the same. But it's been so long since I played local, I don't really remember anyway, so it's still fun.
Nintendo are getting there a little bit. That the invite system they have there. I don't know if you've ever tried it, boys. it is pretty seamless. Unfortunately, there's no messaging system. That's what's missing for me. Is to send someone a message and go, I can see you playing that game now. Hey, jump in. But as soon as you hit an invite, it gets sent to them immediately. It pops up on the switch in the top left. You've been sent an invite. You can hit the home menu to take you out of your game. Click on accept and it'll load up that game if you're not playing that game and take you straight through to that person's match. So as long as a game is supporting it, it is a really good system. They just need to complement it with other bits and pieces like voice chat and a messaging service. Anything to add, Greg?
Not really, other than like as much as there are certain disadvantages to playing online, like it is still amazing that you can just go like, I fancy a wee multiplayer in Mario Kart or something. You can just jump on and play with somebody. You don't have to like arrange to have people over, and it's just you jump on 5 or 10 minutes, have a few races, and then leave, and then you go off. I fancy a couple of games of Pro Evo or something. Just stick it on, and away you go. It's certainly convenient.
Yeah, I agree. Like Mario Kart's a very good example. You'll never be short of a match. You stick it on any time of the day, and there's always a lobby to be joined for some fun. And it's that type of game that's not too competitive. Doesn't matter if you win or lose, and you can just enjoy. It's when it gets a bit too competitive for me. So co-op is my preferred choice. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.